There seems to be quite a bit of confusion out there as to the connection between these two, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and its new DJI Mic 2 wireless transmitter. Is it just a Bluetooth connection, or is there a dedicated 2.4 GHz receiver built into the camera? Well, today we want to run some tests to try to find out. And in particular, we're going to compare this setup to this setup using the original DJI Mic system with its dedicated 2.4 GHz receiver. So it's DJI versus DJI. Which one will give us the best audio quality on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3? Stay tuned and let's find out. So when I ordered my Pocket 3 a couple of months back, like many people, I opted for the Creator Combo Kit, and the main reason I chose the Creator Combo Kit was because it included this. This is the new wireless transmitter / microphone for the yet to be released DJI Mic 2 system. Now, I've owned the original DJI Mic system since it was released, and I really like this system and I get a lot of use out of it. So you can imagine my enthusiasm that DJI had now paired these two great products together. So now, if the receiver is now built directly into the camera, all I have to do is power up the microphone, it connects automatically, and I get all the performance of the DJI Mic system. But it has to be said that the response to this microphone has been pretty underwhelming, and there are discussions going around right now that this is actually nothing more than a Bluetooth microphone. I've even been in discussion with DJI technical support. I'm not sure I got the most qualified person, but they basically just told me this is a Bluetooth microphone, which if true would mean this system would not provide anything like the level of performance of a dedicated 2.4 GHz system like the original DJI Mic system. Certainly not in terms of stability, range, ability to work through obstructions and things like that. Now, I'm not sure we're going to answer the question definitively whether this is just Bluetooth or 2.4 GHz or both. But what we plan to cover in today's video is to look at the performance of this DJI Mic 2 transmitter together with the DJI Pocket 3 and compare it against the original DJI Mic system. And ultimately, we want to find out which of these systems is going to give you the best audio quality, stability, range, and so on. So, as usual, there's going to be a lot to cover, so I'll provide the chapters up here so you can skip straight to the section or sections you are most interested in. Before we get started, the usual disclaimer: this video is not sponsored or paid for in any way. All of the products being looked at today were purchased with my own money, and the opinions are entirely my own. Also, of course, if you are enjoying the video, getting good information out of it, please remember to give us a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to the channel for a lot more content on the DJI Pocket 3 as well as other tech, travel and leisure. So for our testing, we're going to be using 3 different setups. Firstly, as something of a baseline, we're going to use the Pocket 3 just on its own. So we're going to be using the onboard microphones of the Pocket 3 itself. The second setup then is going to be with the new DJI Mic 2 transmitter. And this, of course, is going to be wirelessly and directly connected to the Pocket 3. And the third configuration then is going to be using the original DJI Mic system. Now for that I have the wireless receiver plugged into the USB port on the back of the battery extension cable. That's just one of several options that you have. You could choose to mount it directly into the base of the camera, but then of course you no longer have the ability to mount the camera. Or another option would be to use something like this. This is a 90-degree USB adapter, and that way I can mount it in a way that I can still see it when I'm looking at the front of the camera. But for simplicity, I just simply have the receiver plugged into the USB port on the back of the battery handle. So those are our 3 different configurations that we're going to be testing, and we're going to be looking at several different filming environments. In a moment, we're going to start right in here in the studio, and then we're going to head outside. We're going to do some walk and talk testing, and then we're going to do some range and signal stability testing on the 2 wireless systems in particular. Okay, so as I said, our first test is here in the studio. Right now you are listening to me on the onboard microphones of the Pocket 3 itself, so in order to establish a baseline. Now, I've done a bit of testing already on the Pocket 3, and I do think the onboard microphones do a pretty good job. Now, I haven't listened to this clip yet, obviously, but I generally find that in an inside environment like this, there's generally a little bit of an echo on the onboard microphones. There are a few different settings that I've played around with, including choosing the all-round microphones or the front-facing, and I find that the all-round microphone setting generally gives the best results, and that's what we're on right now. So as I said, we're establishing our baseline here. How does this sound in terms of the overall audio quality? So let's go straight to part 2, and all I need to do then is turn on the wireless microphone, the DJI Mic 2. I see the confirmation on the display that the microphone is now connected, and I'll place it down here in a more normal position. So what is the sound quality? What is the difference between the onboard microphones and now the wireless microphone? Now the wireless microphone has a noise cancellation feature, which right now is turned on. You can see the green light here. I generally find that the sound is a little bit muffled while this is turned on. So I'm going to turn it back off again, and you can decide for yourself whether you prefer the sound with the noise cancellation on or off as it now is. Okay, so let's move on to part 3 of the test, where we compare this with the original DJI Mic system. And our third configuration. So now I have the DJI Mic wireless receiver plugged into the back of the battery handle on the DJI Pocket 3, and I'll place the transmitter / microphone in the usual position here. So once again, how does this sound in comparison to the DJI Mic 2? I'm guessing there won't be a lot of difference. There's no real challenge here as far as the communication is concerned. But again, just to establish a baseline here in our studio type environment. So I guess now we'll head outdoors and do some more testing. Okay, the rain has let up for a few minutes, so let's do some walking and talking. So in the first part of our walk and talk test, we are testing the onboard microphones. So right now I am talking to you through the onboard microphones of the Pocket 3. And as the next part of our test, I'm going to turn on the DJI Mic 2 wireless microphone. So I've powered that on now. It's now telling me that that's connected. And so now you are listening to me over the DJI Mic 2 wireless microphone. This is the one that comes as part of the Creator Combo Kit and is communicating wirelessly with the DJI Pocket 3. And now for the third part of our walk and talk test, I now have the original DJI mic system attached. So I have the receiver attached via USB to the Pocket 3 itself. And now obviously the transmitter is communicating wirelessly with the receiver. So how is the audio quality now with the original DJI wireless system? Okay, so let's do some range testing. Now, right now, once again, I'm talking to you using the onboard microphones of the Pocket 3. Obviously, I don't expect to get very far, but just for reference purposes, you can get an idea of why we need a wireless microphone. If I walk away from the camera to some distance, obviously my voice becomes much quieter, particularly if I turn away and start talking in a different direction. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult to pick up my voice on camera. So what we're going to do now is compare the range of the new DJI Mic 2 system. So that would be the transmitter wirelessly paired with the DJI Pocket 3, and then we're going to compare that to the original DJI Mic system where we have the receiver plugged into the USB port of the Pocket 3 and obviously the transmitter wirelessly communicating with the receiver. Okay, so now I have the DJI Mic 2 connected. So this is obviously wirelessly connected directly to the Pocket 3. And I'm going to take a walk up the hill. So if I walk all the way to the top of the hill there where those far trees are, that's around about 200 feet away. And on the way, we'll also see the impact of obstructions, whether I'm the obstruction simply by turning my back on the camera, or I'll also walk behind the RV here a little bit to see what impact that has. Now, on my way, I'm going to keep talking continuously, so if you do hear an extended period without any talking, it's because we've lost signal and not because I've stopped talking. So I'm just going to start by backing away slowly, and presumably you should have no issues continuing to hear me on the wireless microphone. Where you may have an issue is if I turn my back, you may hear some deterioration in the signal, possibly not. You may hear a complete blackout. I don't know if you can continue to hear me right now, but I will just continue to talk. And right now I'm about 50 feet away from the camera. So now I'm facing the camera again. Shouldn't be a problem at this point. 50 feet should be well within the range of this system. But let's see what happens also if I wander behind the RV here. So we no longer have line of sight between the transmitter and the camera. So I'm now talking to you from behind the RV. And as I walk back, presumably you can now hear me again. I don't know if you heard me while I was behind the RV, but now again I'm about 50 feet. I'm going to turn around and head to 100 feet now. So continuing to talk as I walk up the hill. This is pretty exhausting. I hope you guys appreciate the effort that I'm putting in here for you guys. So now I'm around about 100 feet away from the camera. So what is the sound quality like with me now facing you at about 100 feet away from the camera? If I turn my back, is there any impact on this as well? And once again, I will continue walking. Maybe I'll turn back towards you, walk backwards a little bit, so hopefully you can hear me. And we'll continue walking. And I'm continuing to talk and talk. I don't even know what to say anymore. Whew. This is a lot of work. So now, I don't know if you can still see me, but I am pretty close to 200 feet away from the camera. I am facing the camera, so hopefully you should not have any difficulty in hearing a loud and clear signal without any kind of disruptions. What I'll do is I'll just wander a little bit to the side to lose line of sight and see if that impacts the signal at all. I'm turning around as well as I'm doing this. And I'll come back into the line of sight. So once again, I'm here at about 200 feet away from the camera. So what did that sound like? Okay, so now I am hooked up with the original DJI microphone. Now, of course, that means the wireless receiver is connected to the Pocket 3 through the USB port, and of course the transmitter is wirelessly communicating to the receiver. So let's see what difference this makes. And again, I'm going to back up a little bit and continue talking. Once again, I continue talking the whole time. So if you don't hear me, it means that we've lost communication. So I'm turning my back and heading up the hill, and our first stopping point once again will be at around 50 feet. And I'm approaching that 50 feet mark right around now. So now I'm about 50 feet away from the camera. Did you notice any difference in terms of the stability of the signal between the DJI Mic 2 and now the DJI Mic that I'm using? I will do the same test in terms of the obstruction. So I'm walking behind the RV now, continuing to talk as I do so. And I'm wondering if you can still hear me as I walk back around and establish the line of sight to the camera. So once again, I'm around about 50 feet, maybe a little bit more now, and I will take my walk up the hill, up to the next point, which is around about 100 feet. As I continue to walk and talk, certainly the dog is enjoying this, and let's stop at around about 100 feet now from the camera. So what is the signal quality? Again, what is the comparison to the DJI Mic 2? And I'll turn around once more and continue on up, and continuing to walk and talk as I do so the whole way. So you can determine if there's any outages of the signal, any disruption of the signal as I'm walking. And here we are at around about the 200 feet mark, so just over 60 meters. Now, how is the signal quality again compared to the DJI Mic 2? I'm facing you currently. I'm going to walk off to the side a little bit. So I'm going to lose line of sight. I'm behind the bushes. I'm also turning around, so my back is to the camera. And now I'm going to walk back into the frame to see if that makes any difference. So now I've re-established the line of sight. Okay, so how did this sound in comparison to the DJI Mic 2? Okay, so we have two questions that we want to answer. The first being, what is the communication between the Pocket 3 and the DJI Mic 2? And the second question, which of the audio options that we used provided the best results in our various scenarios? Now, when it comes to the communication between the Pocket 3 and the DJI Mic 2, let me first state that I'm not claiming to be an expert on this. I have no inside information on this, but for me, based on the results of the range test, it seems pretty clear that we're dealing with a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz connection between the Pocket 3 and the DJI Mic 2. Now, yes, we know the DJI Mic 2 has Bluetooth capability. It can also act as a dedicated Bluetooth microphone, and you'll find dozens of videos on YouTube showing exactly that. And I myself have even connected it up to my Insta360 X3 using Bluetooth. More on that in just a second. But when I look at the results of the range test and I see the combination of the Pocket 3 and the new Mic 2 outperforming the original DJI Mic system, which is a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz system, it seems pretty clear to me that that connection is more than just simply Bluetooth, even though it may be using Bluetooth in order to establish the connection. And as far as which audio option is providing the best results, well, let's just go through the three different scenarios that we looked at. First of all, the studio comparison. Now, I think clearly in that test, both wireless microphones were about the same, and the onboard microphones had a little bit too much of an echo for my liking. Now, there may well be better suited microphones for that particular environment, but based on the comparison that we did, I think both wireless microphones performed equally well and would be the better choice over the onboard microphones. The DJI Mic 2, of course, has a little bit of an edge in terms of its simplicity. All you have to do is power it up and you're ready to start recording. In the second scenario, the walk and talk scenario, I would say that all three microphones performed equally well, including the onboard microphone also. And of course, the onboard microphone is always going to be your simplest solution. Now, there is one caveat to that, of course. If you are in an area with a lot of background noise, or you are anticipating any background noise, the wireless microphone will probably do a better job of isolating your voice. And then we come to the range test. Now, clearly the onboard microphone is just not an option in that type of environment, but when you compare the two wireless systems, it was clear to me that the new DJI Mic 2 actually outperformed the original DJI Mic system in that type of environment. We saw quite a bit of disruption of the signal with the original DJI Mic system, but having been through the footage a few times now, I cannot find any significant outages of signal with the new DJI Mic 2. So for me, there's really one clear winner in this overall test, and that is the DJI Mic 2. So that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and got good information out of it. If so, please remember to give us a like and also consider subscribing to the channel for a lot more content on tech, travel and leisure. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions for future videos, please go ahead and put those into the comments. I always like to hear from you guys. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today.